What's up, bleeders? Thank you for tuning in to our 50th Roundup and 420 holiday special. Today is Sunday, April 20th, and this is the Weekend Roundup.
All my friends, Yellow Rider.
Hello. I'm your host, DangerMouse, and welcome to episode 50 of the Weekend Roundup. The UFC has kindly stepped aside to let us celebrate our 50th show, so I can stand here back raised like Joe wrote. At the other end of the crease is my regular opening partner. He can find any chat room with his shot selection. It's the one and only, and quite possibly a little confused Ohio native. It's LazyBed. Sup, Lazy? How's that for an intro?
Pretty fucking good, and I am also pretty fucking good. Happy to be here on this lovely 420 Easter weekend. Good to be with you guys, and don't know what we're gonna get into, but it's gonna be a fun time.
Certainly hope so. Yeah, happy Easter, everybody. And sat watching over us from the team balcony is our producer and editor. He's no cricketer, but he's an excellent third man to have join us. It's the one and only Super Dave Fairtex. How's things, Dave?
Couldn't be better. Doing pretty good.
Our Manny Kelly will not be joining us with the 420 celebrations, but hopefully he'll be cracking a beer with the family over Easter dinner. And now you're probably wondering why I decided to do a cricket-themed intro, especially if you're not a Commonwealth listener. No idea, really, other than I started writing and that's what came out. It really fits the 50 score. And if I had to tie it into the 420 theme, it's England versus the West Indies. So it's time to roll up a fatty, crack a red stripe, rip that bing, slap on some Bob Marley, and let's see what emerges from the smoke.
Let's go.
Okay, as we have no UFC to review, we're just going to do a little bit of a roundtable, ask and answer a few questions, some more serious than others. Maybe Lazy has some stuff that he's going to want to go over. Who knows? Dave might say something. In fact, who knows what Dave might say? All right, let's start off with a couple of serious questions, I guess. What are you guys thinking about the upcoming Gary versus Prates fight? Might as well let Dave go first, because I know where Lazy's going on this one.
I like it. Not as much as the previous matchup Gary had booked, but it's a good fight. Fighting nerds versus the Machado clan. Gary coming from him. I think it's probably going to be a very competitive fight. It's a huge step up for Prates, and I don't know. It's a good fight. I think Ian Gary's going to win, and I look forward to seeing it. Both fighters. Prates is more fun, but I like Ian's fighting style, and it should be a good matchup.
Yeah,
I'm gonna fucking chop the shit out of this. So.
All right, Lazy, let's hear from you. Let's hear your enthusiastic response.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it in your little introduction there. I think it's pretty obvious which way I'm gonna lean. It's obvious which way I gotta lean. I can't go against my number one draft pick. Guy I've been waiting for basically all year to see come back and get back in the octagon. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. I think that Ian Gary does pose a unique threat and challenge to Prates. Ian Gary presents a unique threat to everybody he faces. He has been kind of fighting a bit more strategic and safely in his last few outings, but he was, again, facing very dangerous competition himself. And that's not going to change in this outing against the Nightmare, Mr. Carlos Prates. I think that he's going to try to go the wrestling route. I think that's the obvious path to victory, he would think, and his team would think, being that Prates' grappling and jiu-jitsu is a bit untested in the UFC. But I think if we've learned anything lately with the nerds, it's that you don't want to question them in any one area of fighting. I think that they're a pretty well-rounded group of fellas with a obviously well-coached team. They game plan like few others. And I think that while it will be a tough night for Carlos because Ian is very agile, very fleet of foot, tough to hit, I think that Carlos will end up cracking him, and possible TKO finish. I don't think that has Gary ever been knocked out. I don't think.
No,
So
I don't think so.
yeah, I could potentially see a TKO.
No,
but
definitely not, because he only ever lost to.
Shavcat.
I keep wanting to say Rachmanov. Yeah, he's only lost to him.
didn't he lose one other one?
No, that was the battle of the undefeated fighters. Someone's had to go.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know why I thought he had lost one more. Anyway, so yeah, I think he's gonna get his chin tested, and I don't know if he gets finished, but yeah, I could see Carlos kind of landing the more impactful shots throughout 5 rounds. I'm not gonna question his gas tank, even though he's a heavy cigarette smoker. That's just classic Muay Thai style, and he's got the fucking tattoo on his chest, Muay Thai. So yeah, I think if anything, he wins a pretty sound decision. But he could finish the fellow. He could finish Mr. Ian Gary.
Okay, that's slightly different from how I'm seeing this one going. Yeah, Gary, not my favourite fighter. I'm not going to pretend that he is, but he did deserve some respect after he fought Shavcat. Not many people would step into a fight and put their O against that kind of fighter, and he did. So yeah, I said it at the time, and all respect to Ian Gary for that one. Prates, the up and coming star, Lazy's #1 pick, which obviously gives him some credit in how we look at things. I haven't made a decision on this one, which way it'll go by any means. I'm still thinking about it. Fortunately, Austin isn't here to complain and try and make this a legally binding pick. Yeah, that's right. Fuck you, Austin. So yeah, I'm kind of seeing this. I think Prates is more likely to win it if he gets it done quickly within the first 2 or 3 rounds. And I can see Gary stretching out a win if it goes the entire distance. Because I know you've just joked about it, Lazy, but those cigarettes, we're both smokers or have been heavy smokers, they play an effect on your lungs. And yeah, you can train through it to a degree, but it's still there's that minuscule effect that Ian Gary doesn't have. And this is a game of fractions, millimeters at times. And maybe that is just enough for him to lose it. Like I said, I'm not going to decide who I'm picking on this one. But yeah, should be a fun fight. Looking forward to it, which makes a change for an Ian Gary fight. Doesn't happen very often. And so onto the co-main for that one, which is Anthony on paper Smith versus Zhang Miang Yang. So does Anthony go on to retire on a win? And has anyone seen his podcast?
I have not seen his podcast. I do know that he had John Anik on there recently, so he gets a little bit of credit for that from me. But man, we gotta look at this for what it is. This is just kind of Anthony Smith getting sent to the slaughter. This tough way to be going out in your final fight. Now there is shades of when he fought Vitor Petrino, because Vitor Petrino was kind of thought of in the same vein as a Zhang Ming Yang, where he's a marauding finisher. But I think that even though that was 3 fights ago maybe, we're looking at a different Anthony Smith here than the guy that fought Vitor Petrino. This is Anthony Smith who's coming off that fight with Dom Reyes, where he had lost his coach and longtime friend, somebody that he was very close with, and he was going into that fight, looking to get some emotional relief through being beaten and pummeled, and to have this sort of quick turnaround against a tough, young, heavy-hitting light heavyweight like Zhang. I don't see what he thinks he's going to accomplish or what the matchmakers really think he's going to accomplish. And I think that they're just kind of setting up Zhang to beat a big name and put a big name on his resume. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough scenes if you're an Anthony Smith fan, but yeah, I think he's going to hang the gloves up after a pretty devastating loss.
Dave?
It does kind of say something to me about UFC matchmaking on how they treat some of their fighters when they're reaching the end of their career. It seems like I agree with Lazy. They're sending they're sending Anthony Smith out there to lose to Ming Yang, and I don't know. I guess that's just the nature of the beast. It's a match that he's going to lose. I see Zhang's coming off of 12-fight win streak, and all of those were like TKO KO finishes. So this is just probably going to go one way, and UFC is using his name to kind of boost Zhang apparently, and it's a fight I don't care anything about really. Like, I'm not big
That's
into
fine.
Anthony Smith.
No, so that's fine if you don't care about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll watch it, but it's like, maybe Zhang will go somewhere, so this will be a good, win in hindsight. But it's kind of like for a co-main event, I'm like, I don't really care what happens. Like, I don't think it affects the division at all. I don't really care if Smith retires or not. If Zhang ends up becoming like a big talent and a big name, then it'll be fun because of that. But I don't know, it just doesn't move my needle.
Yeah, it's Lionheart versus the Mountain Tiger, who is just a killer out of China. He does like first round KOs. He has lost a few times by KO in the first round himself, but much earlier on in his career. This is pretty much what they tried to do to Nate Diaz when they fed him to Hamza, or tried to. And they're just feeding Anthony Smith to this guy. Obviously, the UFC wants to make inroads into the Chinese market. It's a huge market. Just feed Anthony Smith, big name. I know Anthony Smith has said to Michael Bisping, I'm just laughing at notes. He said to Michael Bisping that he's going to retire. This is his retirement fight. So I think we will see Anthony Smith lay his gloves down in the cage after this one. And that will be the end of it for him. And he can go on to carry on with his podcast, etc.
I bet you that part of this, him being in the co-main event like this and against such a tough guy, is probably because, they know his retirement is imminent. And where's this card taking place? Kansas City, Missouri. He's a Nebraska guy, close enough, ties to the area, kind of. Maybe he can have some family and stuff in attendance. And rather than retiring in the Apex, he can retire on the road in an actual arena.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, at least like go out on the road, as it were, and close to home. Yeah, he could surprise us and stay fighting, but I don't think he will. So let's do one more serious question. Well, then I've got a couple of silly ones to throw in. We have Merab versus O'Malley 2 coming up. UFC 316, I think, is it? Main event at the moment. Any thoughts on this one, either of you? Obviously, rematch. We saw O'Malley get pretty much mauled last time. I know a few people have tried to claim it's a bit closer than it was scored, but I don't think it makes that much difference. No one was saying O'Malley was winning, except maybe O'Malley. Allegedly, well, not even allegedly, he was injured at the time. Hopefully, he's had that injury fixed. So, can he bring anything special to the party and do away with Merab this time? Merab kind of showing some hints of not being that confident about it in certain ways. I think it was mainly on Guru that he was pointing some stuff out.
Yeah, no, I actually like the matchup. Looking at the rankings, I'm not sure there's anyone else that really deserves a shot at the title besides O'Malley. I don't know. I do want O'Malley to win. In round 5 of the last fight, he started having a lot of success with the tape to the body, and maybe they can learn something from that and build more of a better game plan off that and have more success in the next fight. I mean, I wouldn't bet on it. You kind of got to go with Merab just because, his pace and his cardio, and even his strikings look better recently. But I'm just hoping that O'Malley wins, and it'll be interesting to see if he changes up his game plan and, tries more stuff that he tried in round 5 or the success that he had in that round and, build another game plan around it. He might do better. I'm excited for it.
I think if O'Malley wants to win this one, working Merab's body over, obviously trying to kill that cardio to some degree, that could well work. I don't know if you saw it. There was Merab showing how he was going to defeat Sean O'Malley, doing like a spinning, leaping back kick to a tree stump, to a big log of a tree about the same height as Sean O'Malley. Lazy, anything on this one? I'm sure you'd have something.
Well, see, I think I get from a UFC perspective why this matchup was made, why this was booked again. It is really the only money fight, I guess you would say, quote unquote, for Marab right now. It's the most profitable fight that they're going to book for the Bantamweight Championship. But at the same time, I think it's really kind of pointless, and I think that's kind of the general consensus of the fan base is that this is a fight that we don't really need to see again, and especially not so soon. I think that you would have had a lot more people behind this rematch had Sean gone into this coming off of a win, having fought somebody after coming back from the injury before getting another title shot. I think if he had got in there with a guy like a Sanhagen or something like that, or whoever, and just got another W under his belt prior to going into this rematch with Marab, I think fans would have been a lot more on the side of the promotion. But nevertheless, this is what's booked, and from a fight perspective, I don't really see how it goes any differently than the first one. You can, if you're Sean O'Malley, put some of the blame on the claim that you had a torn labia coming into that one, but to me, that only goes so far, and that's every guy who loses in a high-profile fight always has some aching, nagging injury that they came into it with, or they were sick, or they had a terrible weight cut. There's always a reason for why. So I feel like that's just O'Malley kind of reaching, and I don't see how being out for that amount of time, coming off of the surgery for that torn labia, that he had any time to even sharpen up his game in the takedown defense area, in the wrestling department. Like, I think we're going to see the same O'Malley that we saw, and he's going to be equally as reliant as he was the first time on finding that one key shot that's just going to land and change the momentum of the fight in his direction. And I think against a guy like Marab, that is the exact wrong game plan, because you're just going to get run over by the avalanche. So I think it's really going to be basically a repeat of fight one, and that's going to be terrible for the stock of Sean O'Malley and how he's going to be booked going forward. So tough scenes for him, I think, and I think that it's going to be another easy defense for Marab.
Yeah, O'Malley doesn't really deserve this one. In fact, just doesn't deserve this crack at the title again. Marab's defended it once, and O'Malley gets to sit on the sidelines, getting fit, and having another crack at it. No, not deserved. It's Dana White privilege in full effect, no doubt about it.
It's not uncommon for a fighter to get a. And like, who would you give it to then?
Oh shit! I'm getting questions thrown back at me now.
Like, here's the rankings. 1 is Sean O'Malley, 2 is Peter Yan, 3 is Umar Nurmagomedov, 4 is Corey Sandhagen, 5 is Figgy Smalls, 6 Song Yudong, 7 Marlon Vera, 8 Rob Pont.
Here's what I would do.
Could you throw Song Yudong in there?
I don't know. No, you can't do that. What I would have done is I would have waited for this Des Moines, Iowa card to play out in Sandhagen versus Figgy. See who wins that, and if either one of them wins in impressive fashion, I could see them jumping the line maybe for the next title shot. But I think that the most reasonable person to give it to would have been Petr Yan, even though that would have been a rematch too. I think that he was probably the most deserving.
Yeah, I really can't disagree with what Lazy's coming and saved me with there. Looking at the rankings, I finally got the page up.
That's fair.
Yeah. It'd be fun if we get to see Figueiredo have another crack at the title, but yeah, you'll have to earn it, I guess.
It'll be interesting to see what Marab does. If Marab, sticks around at 135 after this next fight, because he's talked about both going up and down, and he's getting later on in the years himself. So if he's going to make a move, he's probably going to want to do it soon.
Kind of doesn't make sense for him to move up to 145. What if Aljamain Sterling wins the title there? Are we going to have Marab not wanting to fight for the title again at 145?
Yeah, if I'm him, I'm staying.
They'll keep moving their way up till they clear out heavyweight.
That's an idea. So, who made the most serious career fuck up? Henry retiring in his prime, or Tony Ferguson cutting weight 2 weeks before he fought Justin Gaethje?
Cejudo for sure. I mean, he was a champion. He only wanted more money, and they called his bluff. But he was a champion. He's a lighter weight fighter, like 125 pounds, and he was near the 35 age thing, I believe. And he's still kind of in his athletic prime, but at the smaller weight classes, it falls off so fast. That was just he missed out on a lot of money because he probably could have held the belt for a while. And that was an all-time fail. And Ferguson, if he didn't fuck up cutting weight, he would have fucked up doing something else. So he was bound to do some shit, regardless.
Lazy, any change on that?
I'll play devil's avocado here just for the sake of argument, and I'll say that it was actually Tony Ferguson, because what I'll say is that Henry Cejudo, he took a calculated gamble on himself and what he thought was his own worth. He was gambling with his money, whereas Tony Ferguson cutting weight for the fucking fun of it before he fought Justin Gaethje for a second, cutting weight for a second time, was gambling with his health, and it was gambling with his well-being. And we've seen the direction that his career took after that fight and after that second weight cut, and never quite the same, never the same person. He was already fucked up in the head, and he fucked himself up even worse. So, yeah, for the sake of argument, I'll just say that Tony Ferguson was the bigger mistake.
Yeah, that's the argument. You can take the argument either way on that one. As far as retirements go, Henry's was just a classic because no one gave a shit. I was like, throw up the Jeremy Clarkson meme. Oh no. Anyway.
That was Henry's big mistake, is he thought people actually cared.
Yeah. He believed his own hype. All right, next up, a fight that I heard announced today that seems to be going ahead for UFC 317. Hamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis at UFC 317. Main event, allegedly. I did see some other video.
That was cancelled.
It has been cancelled.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I thought I'd seen a video, though, where they were saying Dricus might be injured.
Well, that's maybe fake news. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay.
I
saw a headline that said it was off, though.
Maybe that is a cover-up for the fact that the news leaked that fight is going to happen. So they're like, oh, let's fucking swerve the public by saying he's injured. Now the fight's off.
It might all be speculation, but MMA Mania says it. Sports Illustrated, MMA Junkie, they're all saying that DDP is injured and the main event is on hold.
Bugger. Oh, well. I did see someone suggesting the event underneath that might be Ilia Topuria versus Makhachev. So who knows?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'll say is that I don't know whether any of the news of those two bouts being the top two bouts in the card being true are legit. And I also don't know if the injury talk for DDP is legit. But supposing that these two fights are the top of the IFW card, that would be fucking phenomenal. And it has been speculated for many months. Jed Meshew has talked about it since, God, probably fucking January, that's what the two fights that he would want to see top the card. But I mean, you can't really get much better than those four guys.
Yes, you can.
Oh, I guess you can. Yeah, I know where you're going. But I was gonna say for an international type of affair, that would be fucking phenomenal. I would love to see it. So I hope that it's true that it's gonna happen, and I hope that it's not true that he's injured. So
yeah, I suppose it could be a cover up. Obviously, International Fight Week. I'd much rather see John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. In fact, almost everyone would rather see that fight than anything else, I think.
I thought you were going for a Dakota reference when you were saying that could be better.
Oh, no. It's just me that will want to, that's my most wanted fight of the year, which was the question I was thinking of asking. So nice segue there, Dave. So, yeah, what is your fight you'd like to see this year? if you can't have John Jones versus Tom Aspinall.
You just kind of blew my mind there. What if Dana White does one of his announcements and he's like, "What's up, everybody? Coming up, International Fight Week, Valentina Shevchenko versus Dakota Ditcheva." Oh my god, I'd fucking shit myself.
Like no holds barred on this pick, whatever we want.
Yeah.
Demetrius Johnson comes back and fights Pants for the flyweight championship.
Yeah.
1 in a billion chance, but I'm telling you, there's a chance.
I will directly quote Demetrius on this one. You ain't getting my black ass back in the cage.
1 in a billion. I mean, everyone's got a price.
Yeah. It wouldn't happen this year, but if they cut the new rights deal for next year and Netflix wants to give him a monster check, I could see him possibly coming back.
I suppose he could get that John Jones style FU money.
Yeah. For me, it's tough because a lot of these divisions are kind of fucking clogged up, but if I could just fantasy matchmake and have whoever I wanted, that's a tough fucking question. I hadn't thought about that. I think I would like to see the rumored fight that everyone's been talking about for a while actually go down. I would like to see Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway 3 in New Orleans for Dustin's last fight.
That is a good one. And I heard Dustin talking about Paddy, and he was saying that he likes Paddy, but he's not going to get a chance to fight him because he has something in the pipelines. So we will find out what that is in due time, no doubt. I guess quickly going back to it, if it was Khamzat versus DDP, who would you pick? Who would you got winning this one?
Khamzat by smash.
That's such a tough fight to pick. Like, you got two anomalies of fighting. You don't know what kind of Khamzat you're getting. You don't know how he's going to look coming in. You don't know how his cardio is going to hold up. But I feel like you kind of do know what you're getting with DDP, even if it is sloppy and ugly. And he's a lot fucking bigger than people give him credit for. He's a hoss. He's strong. I think I'd have to go DDP.
Yeah, it's another one of those fights where Khamzat is undoubtedly the best one-round fighter in the world, probably at any weight. But if it goes past that first round, we know he struggles as the fight goes on. Burns gave him a fight. Usman eventually came back despite getting absolutely mauled in the first round, 10-8'd. So yeah, another one I can see. Khamzat gets it done very early. Maybe gets it done faster than anyone could believe, like he did against Robert Whittaker. And if it goes to 5 rounds, I think DDP takes it if it goes that far. Long way away though, so I don't have to pick exactly. All right, let's do a bit of ranking on some stuff. So these are the worst. What I'm ranking as the worst UFC title fights of recent times, and just 3. So just rank them in order, but I'm going to make you rank them blind just to make it a little bit tricky.
Ooh. All right.
Oh, I actually have 4 on this one. Do you want to go at 4?
Yeah, we could do 4.
Of course, I've only got 3 on the other category. I've got it now. All right, then. We will go with Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero.
That was not a good fight. But it did have some moments, and I could think of a few other fights that did not have any moments. I'll go ahead and put that at number 2.
Ooh, interesting. Valentina Shevchenko versus Grasso, 3.
Well, I guess I should have asked beforehand. Is number 1 the worst, or is 4 the worst?
Yeah, that's clever. Number 1 is the worst, yeah. So if you want to change your other one around, you can do, yeah.
Yeah, let me change that around. Let me switch Izzy and Yoel to number 3 then.
Okay.
All right. Val and Grasso 2.
3.
Oh, 3. Yeah, 3. It wasn't terrible. I feel like you're swerving me though. I'm gonna put that at number 4 then.
Okie dokie. I should point out that suggestion for that fight came from our very own Dr. Daz Riccio. So cheers, Daz. I was struggling for ideas. And then I guess we go back to the next one. Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza.
Oh, yeah, baby. That's got to be number 1 right there. That is the number 1 worst fight of all time.
Okie dokie. And that just leaves us with one more. Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier.
Whew. I didn't think that was actually that terrible. But yeah, I guess that leaves it at number 2. It has to be.
I'll say that kind of works out for you then if you didn't think it was that terrible.
Yeah. It wasn't the worst of the worst. It was not Cookie Monster and fucking Rose.
No, I agree with you there on that choice. If you want to give your rating of those 4, Dave, you can do, but you don't have to. I have another question for you.
Today's the 420 episode, so I collapsed into peer pressure and got high, and I forgot the question. So let's just go to the next one.
That's fine. Okay, you get the most disappointing fights. This covers the last 15 years, and I will go with. We'll start with the earliest one: Anderson Silva versus Damian Maia, UFC 112, April the 10th, 2010.
I'm gonna put that at 3. I didn't know. Actually, that was like one of the first pay-per-views that I missed after I started getting really into it. And so it was probably really disappointing, but I'm pretty sure I missed that one. And so we'll go with 3. No, yeah 3.
3? Okie dokie.
That was the very first Abu Dhabi card.
Was it?
Yeah, like Dana was super pissed.
Yeah, he was so mad.
All right, up next then, we'll have, we've already mentioned him a couple of times. In fact, we've already mentioned this fight, Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero, UFC 248, March 7th, 2020.
4.
Sorry? We've only got
like
3
that
for you,
fight.
Dave, so you can change the order again.
No takesies, backsies is 2. All right, so what's my number 1?
Which is Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou, UFC 226, July 7th, 2018.
All right, that's so perfect at number 1. It kind of offsets the mistake of the previous pick.
Yeah. You actually ended up making the right choice.
Yeah.
Look at that. I gotta add an honorable mention to that list of fucking worst, most disappointing fights. You gotta put Torres Finney and Robert Valentine in there.
Oh yeah.
And recency bias. That was fucking horrendous.
That was a bad fight.
Record-setting performance.
Yeah.
I had a fun question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fire away.
All right, DangerMouse first. Is there a fighter that you really didn't like, or like hated, or just couldn't stand, but through the course of their career you ended up really appreciating and liking them and becoming a fan? And if so, who?
It's kind of a funny one in certain respects. I can say about 2 guys, and because I was only just starting to watch MMA at the time, and I'm not the biggest kind of patriotic guy necessarily. I play it more than furiously believe it, and I was getting into it, and I was into the hype and stuff, and I ended up watching Michael Bisping, and I ended up watching Dan Hardy, who are 2 guys that I really, really like now. And because of the way Dan Hardy was projected on the screen, and I only saw the little bit of hype that you get in the 20 minutes before a fight or whatever it was, Dan Hardy was projected as a bad guy, and he got the mohawk hair, the red mohawk, a bit flashy, bit punkish, and that's not an image that really struck me very well at the time. So I didn't overly care when GSP mauled him in that fight. Obviously, would have liked England to win, but it didn't bother me. And yeah, I've grown to appreciate Dan Hardy much more over the years. And fuck the USC for ever sacking him, and fuck Herb Dean for his involvement in that as well. You owe that guy an apology. You should have him back in the UFC. No doubt about that. And yeah, Michael Bisping again was a bit hardcore. Only saw little bits of him, and he did come across as a bit of an asshole because he was being a bit of an asshole. And yeah, it's something I've grown to appreciate a little bit more as I grew him. Whereas Chael always had that charming element when he was doing stuff like that. It was always funny, whereas Bisping was just like kind of in your face a bit more, like, you know, fuck you. At least in the early part of his career. So yeah, there you go. That's my answer. One of those two guys.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have the same question for LazyBed, but he likes a lot of the fighters, so I don't know if he even has some that fit that.
Oh, I certainly do. I certainly do. Well, you mentioned one of them there, DangerMouse. Michael Bisping is like the first one that pops to mind. I think that everyone that watched UFC during the Tough era when Tough was really booming, you hated Michael Bisping. I mean, the guy was a fucking prick. He was a dickhead. But that was his whole thing. That was his shtick, and he was damn good at it. He played the heel, and he did it well. He was an asshole, and when he got knocked out, everybody rejoiced. So whether you hated him or you loved him, you still watched. And then now seeing what he's evolved into, he's not the best commentator. He's not the best play-by-play guy, but and I don't agree with all his views. I'll add that. But he is kind of an endearing asshole. He's a warm-hearted, fun-loving asshole, and he has softened in his old age, and he's kind of grown on me. The podcast has helped. But then another one that kind of sprung to mind as I was sitting here thinking about it. I fucking hated Tito Ortiz back in the day. I could not stand Tito. I hated his entire gimmick. The fucking flame shorts, the American flag, the blonde hair. Like, I thought he was such a douchebag tool. But going back and watching some of the older fights of his now, he was a pretty fucking good fighter, and he was one of the early adopters of the really heavy, menacing ground and pound and impactful wrestling. So he is a moron, and he's another one that I can't really, still to this day, I don't like him as a person, but I've at least grown to appreciate his fighting style and his fights. So that's I guess as much respect from me as you'll ever get on Tito Ortiz.
That was a great question, Dave. Do you want to answer it for yourself? Dave? I think we've lost Dave.
Hey, Dave's not here, man.
I guess I'm going to be Izzy's dog because I'd rather be beat off than beat.
Great answer. Yeah, I think on a strictly monetary version, I might have to take being John Jones' wife, but just because I can divorce him and get rich, especially if he gets 25 million fuck you money, then I can go. Running over to England and maybe fuck Tom Aspinall. No, that's a bad idea. Tom Aspinall's happily married with kids. Don't see it. Ignore that.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Although I guess you could ask him, have you ever fingered an MMA fighter's wife?
What? No, I haven't.
Hey, yeah, just something that popped up on the I saw on the Discord. I think it was saw people talking about Deadliest Warrior.
Yep. It was a good show.
Yeah, I used to enjoy watching it. I can't remember any of the particular matchups, but it was so corny that it was good. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was cheesily done, but it was also. I think I was mentioning it to Larry. It was kind of one of the early adopters of like AI on TV because they ran all those various simulations, and it was a pretty cool show. I liked it. I enjoyed the historical aspects and then also the masculine just bleed aspect of it too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I said the historical stuff always vaguely interesting, even though it was American produced, so they got massive bits of it wrong at times. I think they did have some genuine experts on. But...
You'll figure.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
This is I'm borrowing this from a main card minute poll that he put on YouTube, and I'm not going to give you the options. I'm going to allow you to fill in the option yourself. But if you were given the chance to sit down and have a session and smoke some weed with any MMA fighter of your choosing, who would you choose?
Oh, wow. Gold. Yeah, I suppose if I was going to answer, I can answer two ways, I guess. Straight up one, and I don't think he touches the stuff, so I don't know if I can answer in that way. But just Tom Aspinall, that would be a fun guy to sit down with, have a beer, have a smoke, chill out, talk some shit. He's a northern lad, I know I'm going to get on with him. I dare say he's got shitloads of entertaining stories back from when he was a bouncer and God knows where else. All the stuff he knows from being in the USA. That'd be fun. If you're talking genuine smokers, people who smoke, I'm struggling more to think of someone there because I don't know everyone in the UFC smokes.
Or
Guess
even
most of
even just somebody, you know, that seems like they might smoke, like somebody that gives
smoke.
off that vibe.
Yeah. See O'Malley. It wouldn't be O'Malley because he would kind of bug me. I think.
Yeah, that would get annoying, I would imagine.
I think of somebody who's pretty chill and would be fun to hang out with.
I'll interject with somebody I thought of. Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy.
Oh yeah, for sure. That is a good choice.
Yeah, very kind of, you know, out there thinking kind of spacey type dude that's gonna say some philosophical shit and, you know, probably have some interesting discussion points.
Yeah, that is a very, very good choice there. I can't really disagree with that. Is that you throwing stuff around?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I would obviously also wouldn't mind sitting down out and chilling by the beach or something and having a smoke with Dakota and just chatting MMA there. That'd be fun. No Diddy, honest. Oh, any silly any silly 420 stories? You know, it doesn't have to be on the date, but anything marijuana related. I get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I actually had. Well, I was thinking of this prior to us coming on the air, and I was going to ask you guys something pretty similar, like just a weed-related story from your past, with whatever amount of detail or incriminating info you want to include. I could go first because I do have one prepped, already thought of.
Yeah. Tell you what, I've got two that I can kind of come in on. A very, very short one that doesn't really take much relating. Then you can come in and I'll throw the other one out because I believe I promised to Too Much BHP that I'd tell this story at some point in the past.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, so just over in Amsterdam, I'd gone over for I used to be into poker quite heavily, and it was the can't think what it is. You know, what's the fucking word when you just have a website on your site and people can click through it. This is a 420 moment.
Yeah, I'm trying to think and I'm having trouble myself.
All right, maybe Dave can throw it up on the screen when he eventually comes back here. So anyway, I've gone over to Amsterdam at one of these things, and I happen to have taken about, I think it was about 6 months, certainly 3 months. Haven't smoked any weed, haven't smoked anything. Gone over to Amsterdam. Of course, the first thing I do when I found my hotel is trot across because I've already been to Amsterdam a few times before this. Trot straight across one of the canals, find my one of my weed shops, start smoking. Trip goes on, and at the time when I went over there, when I used to go the first time, you could get a beer whenever you got a smoke. But when I went back this time, they'd changed the law, so you couldn't do that anymore. So I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll just smoke. And then one night while I was out, I decided that I'd go into a bar and have a beer after having a smoke. And I had the smoke. I went in, I had a beer, I stepped out of the bar onto the Amsterdam street, and the entire world had just gone pixelated. It was the entire street was like that. Oh shit! I was like, okay, no worries. There's plenty of benches, so I could pick a bench out from the pixels. I went and sat down there for 5 minutes. I was fine on that one. Yeah, that was just one of those very tiny moments that maybe you've experienced if you got high enough and drunk enough at the same time. Like literally one beer.
Always wanted to go to Amsterdam, never been. Still to this day, I'd like to go.
You should.
Very touristy, but it would be a fun time. Well, my story will probably go a little bit longer, but I'll try to keep it short. I may have actually told a form of this story on here before, or I could just be misremembering through the haze of the weed. This story, I will say it does involve underage consumption of recreational drugs. Anyway, so a young LazyBed, around about, we'll say 14 to 15 years old, hanging around with a group of friends, regular buddies, doing what kids do, sneaking off to parties, drinking here and there, smoking some weed. Anyway, we kind of fell in with a group of guys who happen to be juggalos, ICP fans, fans of the Psychopathic Records record label. Anyhow, attended a few of their shows. It was a good time, a good party scene, fun concerts to go to, and indulge in substances. Anyway, so a big concert was rolling around, and it was actually a tour that was called the Wicked Wonka Tour, and it was ICP, the Insane Clown Posse, Tech Nine, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and the Cottonmouth Kings. If you're familiar with any of those acts, those are some hard partying groups, and the crowds are no different. So anyway, the venue that we were attending was an partially outdoor venue, partially roofed, with a stage along the waterfront. I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want to give it away, but it is in the downtown Cleveland area. So beforehand, we gathered our supplies and our different things, and we got all suited up to go to this concert, because when you go to these concerts, you don't just go in typical street clothes. You put on attire, and you paint your face, and your hair is all done up. So young LazyBed at this time is not bald. He actually had hair, and I had a full head of long dreadlocks down to my shoulders. So that kind of tells you where I was at in my life. And so anyway, we got up to Cleveland. We got all our supplies. We're painted up like clowns. We're wearing matching attire. So we basically look like we're a part of a street gang. And the streets are flooded with people dressed in similar fashion. So we get up there, and as we're waiting to get into the venue, we decide that we're going to take a walk around and see what any peddlers are pushing on the street. So we stumble across a couple of guys who offer us a brick of hash, and probably about, I don't know, a gram or two of hash. So we buy that for a small amount of money, whatever we happen to have on us, and we have some more cash left over. I happen to have a couple of joints rolled up in a stash pocket that is in the sole of my shoe. So I pull those out as we're walking around the backside of the venue, down some rear alleys and whatnot. Take some of that hash, open up one of the joints, put some of the hash in it, roll it back up, seal it, da 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 da. So we're smoking this hash joint, walking through this back alley, all painted up like clowns, and there's a van parked on the side of the road, and the doors hanging open, and there's a man hanging outside of it, and he calls us over to the van. And being the idiots that we are, young and impressionable at the time, we walk over and see what this guy wants as we're smoking this joint of hash. And he ends up being an older fella, I'd say probably mid 60s. And luckily enough for us, he was a cool guy, older hippie type, and asked us, what we're getting into, because he sees all these people walking around in clown paint. We give him a little bit of the rundown, and he says, "Oh, you got smoking there? You got a hash joint there? I can smell the hash burning. What do you got there? Who'd you get it from?" And we say, tell him a little bit of the story. He says, "You don't want that. You don't want that. I got something you guys want." And he reaches in his pocket, and he pulls out a couple of fucking big, thick, dark brown squares of the nicest hash that you had ever seen at the time. And he's rolling them around in his hand like a pair of dice or something, and they're clicking and clacking around. He's like, "This is what you guys want. This is what you guys want. Black Nepalese hash." And we're like, "Oh, fuck, dude, that sounds fucking phenomenal." So we tell him that we've already spent a little bit of money that we had, and we don't have much left. He basically says, "Pull together whatever pocket change you guys got, and whatever you have, I'll hook you up." So we scrounged around. I think we came up with like $12 or $13, including coins in our pockets. And this guy gave us these two big, thick squares of hash. He gave us some magic mushrooms, and I think he hooked us up with some weed or something like that. So anyway, by the time we get back to the concert, I am now on about 5, 6 different substances, and we continue to smoke and enjoy the concert. And because we don't have any more vessels to smoke the hash, but we got all this hash, we're looking for people throughout the night that are smoking themselves and saying, "Hey, can we jump in with you guys and throw some in and put some of this hash in with whatever you're smoking?" So we're mingling with people all throughout the night. And this is the end of the story. As the concert is winding down, and we're finishing up a final joint of some hash, there's a guy standing adjacent to us, behind us, and he's in a suit with a tie. He has a lanyard on with a like a press pass of some sort, laminated, and he's getting closer and closer to us. But we're smoking this fucking joint, and we don't want to be suspicious and like hurry up and put it out and stomp it out. So we just continue smoking. So he makes his way over finally till he's like, maybe 2 feet away from us, and he's like, "Hey, what's that?" and we kind of freeze and get worried and freaked out. And he says, "Is that a hash joint?" And we continue to not say nothing. And then he finally says, "Can I hit that?" And that's when we kind of get the sense of relief. And we're like, "Yeah, dude, if you want to fucking hit it, sure." Well, he works for the venue, and he's like an event planner for a couple of local sports teams. And that's why he has the press pass and whatnot. Super cool dude, though. Ended up giving us his business card and smoked a bunch of hash with us. And yeah, so that was my crazy weed story as a juggalo.
That's pretty fun. Yeah. Squidgy black, Nepalese black. Yeah, just really, really soft hash. I've had it a couple of times. You literally just roll it between your fingers and it turns into a sausage. And you can just drape it across the papers and throw tobacco on top of it if you're English and you smoke your joints that way. Yeah, top quality stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I got a little bit while I was working with some lads in Liverpool, Manchester, sorry, and I bought some off them, and I used to have it as my last joint at night to put me to sleep for the next morning. It's proper knockout stuff. Yeah, all the band related stuff. Yeah, I thought you were going to say the guy in the van was some famous guy at first. There, some ancient hippie that just handing out drugs. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's the kind of person you want to run into. That kind of stories. This is why you would like Amsterdam. It's probably a bit. I mean, I guess you're kind of young enough to get away with it in certain respects. But if you're stopping in the youth hostels in Amsterdam, you're just staying there, and there's, you don't know where people are from. They're from France, Germany, America, all over the world. I hung around with a kid from New Zealand while I was there. Fantastic place to go, and some kids from Wisconsin, which I think I've mentioned before, Jesse and Jesse. That very much you're out there listening to this, but if you are,
it's definitely a younger man's game because there is that element of danger, but that's fun when you're that age.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more dangerous now than it used to be with the changes over there. But don't want to go into that. Instead, I'll finish on a kind of a slightly happy Amsterdam story, because yet again I'd gone over. If I let me start right at the beginning, I'd been working for a company, a retail merchandising company, going into shops, just occasionally setting these shelves up and that kind of stuff, putting stock on them, helping out sometimes just around the store. Gone down to Southampton, we're working on the store, moving all this stuff around, and we're there for a long time, as it happens. We're there for several months, and I go down there and hanging out, and I'm working with a Scottish lad, and he's the youngest guy there, apart from with me being the second youngest, and I'm in my 30s at the time, like very early 30s, I think. All the other guys are in their late 40s, 50s, happily married, all this kind of shit. This Scottish kid, good-looking lad, pulls a girl in the store, arranges to go on a date with her, and then he comes to me and says, "Look, she's got a mate. He wants to bring her along. Do you mind going out?" So I was like, No problem." He's like, "Apparently she's into it." I was like, "All right, yeah, whatever." So long story short, yeah, we end up hooking up. We get on, and then during the course of this contract that I'm on, I go over to Amsterdam because of some reason, I forget what it was. By the way, the word I was looking for earlier was affiliates conferences. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, it popped into mind eventually. So I've gone over to Amsterdam in this period. While I've been over there, I've had a smoke, and terrible accidents happened. I used to wear combat trousers all the time, cargo pants, and rolled in tobacco. I used to all the time, and very accidentally, honest, complete accident. Some marijuana, primo marijuana from Amsterdam has arrived back in England in this tobacco pouch in my trousers. Yeah. So we don't have the statute of limitations, I don't think, so I better keep my name secret. So yeah, so I've ended up, I've gone back home, I think, and then I've kept some of this weed because I know I'm going back down to Southampton and hooking up with this girl again, and there's going to be a party that weekend. My Scottish mate's going to be there, so I've driven down, I've hooked up. I've gone into the party, said hello to everybody. It's been going on a while. My Scottish mates already had a couple of beers. And so I've gone in, I've had a beer, and I've gone in, I've rolled some of this Amsterdam weed and started smoking it. I've had a few hits on it. I've passed it to him. He's had a good few drags on it. I can see it's hitting him. I take it back. I walk outside to finish it. Go outside with the girl because my car's parked outside, so we can get a bit more comfortable out there for a few minutes. We're necking and getting reacquainted, as it were. And obviously, it's a warm summer night, so I've got the windows down in the car, and the bathroom window in the house is open. And all I can hear from there, all of a sudden, is my Scottish friend puking his guts up in the toilet. So I was like, "Oh yeah, that's good weed."
Real mood setters right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I didn't have to kiss him, so that's fine.
Say, hey, buddy, close the window. I'm a little busy here.
Yeah, we're just being friendly. That's all. So yeah, I guess that moment is probably a good time to finish things. We've been going a little bit over an hour, unless there's anything you want to bring up, Lazy.
No, just want to add one final time that I hope everyone had a fantastic 420. We wish you all well. Thank you all for riding with us throughout the last year and a half now, and happy Easter as well. And just good to have you, bleeders, and I hope everybody enjoyed today's episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Easter. Happy 420. Thank you for all listening. We will be back, I dare say, next week with our episode 51, which is, I'm not sure what the fight that is.
Protez versus Gary.
That is Protez versus Gary. Yeah. There I am. I've mentioned it and I've forgotten it. Truly a 420 moment. Yeah, and that one's in your hands, Lazy. So
sure
I can look forward to that one. I can just lean back and relax, which is pretty much what I've done today anyway. So yeah, we're out of here. We will talk to you all soon. Hamzat Chimaev versus Dimitar. Hamzat Chimaev versus Dricus Dricus Duplessis. There we go.
Was he booked to fight Rachmanov at one point?
Gary.
Yeah.
He fought Rachmanov. He lost to him. Lost a decision.
Oh, happy 420. I'm very happy.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Absolutely. And fuck you, Craig.
Fuck you, Craig.
Fuck you, Craig.
Yeah, I said fuck you, Craig.
And man, forget Craig.